The quarry was on Palau. The money was needed on Yap. Between the two lay more than 200 miles of open Pacific. No navigation instruments, no engine, no coast guard. The men who made the crossing did it on bamboo rafts. They sailed to Palau, spent weeks or months in limestone caves carving a disc, sometimes 5 feet across, sometimes 10, and then they lashed it to the raft and sailed home. Some of them did not make it home. The ones who did arrived with something everyone on Yap understood immediately: proof. Not proof that the stone was pretty, not proof that the stone was rare, proof that someone had paid for it, in labor, in danger, in months of life they would not get back. The stone was valuable because the work was real. The work was real because it could not be faked. That is how money gets real, not by declaration, not by law, by cost. There is a phrase that will matter later in this book: proof of work. It comes from the world of Bitcoin, but Bitcoin did not invent the idea. Bitcoin named it. The idea is as old as money itself. Proof of work means the thing you are using as money carries evidence of what it costs to produce. The cost is not incidental. The cost is the message. When a Yap Islander looked at a 12-foot limestone disc, he was not admiring the craftsmanship. He was reading a receipt. That stone said, someone crossed an ocean, someone spent months in a cave with hand tools, someone risked drowning on the way home. You cannot lie about that. You cannot shortcut it. The stone carries its own proof. Gold says the same thing in a different language. Nobody stamps a gold coin with a label explaining that it took thousands of tons of crushed rock, processed over weeks, to produce a single ounce. But the label is unnecessary. The scarcity of gold in the Earth's crust is the label. The reason gold is heavy in your hand is the same reason it is heavy to produce. The weight is the work. The work is the trust. This is the part most explanations of money skip past. They will tell you that money needs to be scarce, and that is true. They will tell you that money needs to be durable and portable and divisible, and that is true too. But they rarely explain what those properties are actually producing. They are producing trust. Not the kind of trust you have in a friend, not the kind of trust you extend when you shake hands on a deal. This is a different species of trust, impersonal, mathematical, verifiable by anyone. When you hold a gold coin, you are holding the compressed labor of miners, smelters, and assiers. You do not need to trust the person who gave it to you. You do not need to know his name. The coin speaks for itself because the work that produced it speaks for itself. That is a profound thing if you stop to think about it. Money, at its best, is a machine for creating trust between strangers. The baker in medieval Florence did not know the wool merchant who walked into his shop. He did not need to. The gold florin the merchant placed on the counter carried its own credentials: scarce, dense, tested by fire. The coin said, someone somewhere did the work. And the baker believed the coin because the coin could not lie. Here is where it gets uncomfortable. What happens when you remove the work? A gold coin is heavy because gold is rare and hard to extract. A dollar bill weighs about 1 gram. The paper costs roughly 6 cents to print. The difference between a $100 bill and a $1 bill is not material. It is the number printed on the front. Same paper, same ink, same weight. The 100 is worth 100 because the government says so. That is a fundamentally different technology. It is not proof of work. It is proof of authority. The bill does not carry evidence of what it costs to produce, because what it costs to produce is trivial. It carries a promise. The United States government guarantees that this piece of paper is worth $100. The cost of breaking that promise is supposed to be so high: economic collapse, loss of global reserve status, political catastrophe, that the promise functions as a substitute for the work. For a while that substitution held. The dollar was backed by gold until 1971. The promise was, bring us your paper, we will give you gold. You could verify the promise by asking for the gold. Some people did. Charles de Gaulle actually sent a warship to pick up France's gold from the Federal Reserve in the 1960s. He did not trust the promise. He wanted the metal. In 1971, Nixon closed the gold window. No more exchanges. The promise changed from "this paper represents gold" to "this paper represents our word." The work was gone. The authority remained. We have been running on authority ever since. I want to be careful here, because this is the point where most books about money become political, and I have no interest in writing a political book. I am writing a book about physics. Not literal physics, the physics of trust, the mechanics of how value gets created, verified, and remembered across a civilization. Those mechanics have rules the same way a bridge has rules. You can build a bridge out of anything: wood, stone, steel, cable. But the bridge has to hold weight. If you ignore the physics, the bridge falls. It does not fall because the builder was a bad person. It falls because the load exceeded the capacity. The physics of money says, trust that rests on work is more durable than trust that rests on authority. Not because authority is always corrupt, not because governments are always evil, but because authority can change its mind and work cannot. The gold that was mined in the Roman Empire is still gold. The coins that Rome debased, clipped, shaved, diluted with base metals, told the whole story of an empire that needed to spend more than it earned. The coins did not lie. The emperor lied. The coins just recorded it. There is a word that captures this idea, and it is an old word: honest. Honest money is money that tells the truth about what it cost. A gold coin is honest. A yap stone is honest. A salt bar carried across the Ethiopian desert is honest. Each one says, "This is what I cost. Check if you want." The cost is baked in. Dishonest money is money that claims to be worth more than it cost to produce. A clipped Roman denarius was dishonest. A continental dollar, printed by the Congress in 1775 with nothing behind it, was dishonest. The phrase, "not worth a continental," survived in American English for 2 centuries because Americans remembered what happened when the government printed money without the work to back it. I am not using honest and dishonest as moral judgments. I am using them the way an engineer uses sound and unsound. A sound bridge holds. An unsound bridge might hold for a while, years, even decades, but the physics is wrong, and eventually the physics wins. The physics always wins. Here is what I want you, as a parent, to take from this chapter before we move forward. When your child asks you what money is, and they will, the answer is not "it's what you use to buy things." That is like saying a bridge is what you use to cross a river. It is true, but it tells you nothing about whether the bridge will hold. The answer is, money is a technology for storing and transferring trust. The best versions of that technology are the ones where the trust is built into the thing itself, where the cost is real, the proof is visible, and nobody has the power to change the ledger. The worst versions are the ones where the trust depends entirely on a promise from someone with every incentive to break it. The money in your wallet right now is the second kind. The money your parents used was backed by the first kind, until 1971. The money your grandparents used was the first kind. 3 generations, that is how fast this changed. Your children are growing up inside that change, and most of them will never be told that it happened, unless you tell them. That is what this book is for. The Yap Islanders did not have a word for proof of work. They did not need one. The ocean was the proof. The months in the quarry were the proof. The risk of drowning was the proof. Everyone on the island knew what a stone cost, because everyone on the island had watched someone pay it. What the islanders had, without naming it, was something modern economies have lost: a money supply that could not be inflated by anyone, no matter how powerful. The chief could not carve a new stone in his backyard. The strongest man on the island could not wish one into existence. The supply was governed by the physics of limestone and the geography of the Pacific Ocean. That was not a limitation, that was the feature. The next chapter is about what happened when civilizations decided the limitation was the problem.
stone is worth the journey that it took. A stone is no